Hi, folks. Welcome to another segment of Disability Landscape. My name is Mark Knutson, and my co-host is, as usual, Charlie Brosen. He's in theme for Halloween. So, Charlie, hello there, Mask Avenger or whatever you are.
Holy Halloween, Mark. Thank you for having on, bringing us back today. Today, we've got a great guest who's going to tell us about some of the great things that they're doing for kids with disabilities and Halloween. So let's bring on from Kansas City, I believe. I want to make sure that's right. Kansas City, Missouri or Kansas?
Kansas City, Kansas.
Kansas, okay. We have Lon Davis, who is with Walkin Rollin. Is that .org? I want to make sure.
Yeah, walkinrollin.org.
Okay.
So the name of the company is Walkin Rollin Costumes.
And you guys specialize in making costumes for children with disabilities, whether it's a walker, a wheelchair, all that type of thing. Tell us how you got started with that, Lon.
Well, it all started with my son. His name is Reese. He was born with cancer. And so the cancer was on his spine and it crushed his spinal cord, leaving him in a wheelchair. And when he got his first wheelchair at the age of 3, he was very excited about it. And, finally he was able to get around quickly. And at Halloween, he said, I asked him what he wanted to be for Halloween. And he said, I want to be Wall-E. That was about the time the movie came out. And he loved that movie. And I thought, that's a great costume for a wheelchair. We can build something around his wheelchair and actually incorporate his wheelchair into the costume. And so he was very excited about that. And he helped me build it, even at 3 years old. But the funny thing was that he would not let me work on it unless he was sitting in the chair at the time. So I had to build the costume around him in the chair. And, just kind of built it and, didn't really think much of it. We finished it, took lots of pictures and videos and started sharing them on social media. And what ended up happening was the pictures kept getting shared and shared, and we started getting contacted by people we didn't know that were interested in, hey, can you guys build something like this for my child? And at first we didn't, we thought, well, not really, this is just kind of something we do on our own, not really looking to expand it that way. And then the next year, Reese picked a different costume, and the same thing happened. The pictures started spreading, and more people started requesting costumes. And so around the year 2014, we decided maybe we should kind of reconsider this. And is there something that we can do to build these for other families? And we started thinking, a lot of families with kids with special needs, they don't have a lot of expendable income to spend on a costume that's going to be as elaborate as what we do. And the costumes that we build, they average about $250 a piece just in supplies in order to make them look the way they look. And about 150 hours invested in each costume. And so we thought, well, the only way to really make this work is if we can figure out a way to make it free for the families. And so we came up with the business plan of using volunteers to help build the costumes, and then sponsorships and donations to help pay for the costumes. And that way, no family has to pay one dime for these costumes. And so we launched in 2015, and that first year we built, I believe, 11 costumes for kids. And to date, we've built over 100 costumes for kids all over the nation, and all of them have been free of charge to the families. So.
Wow. The question I have is, when you're getting these ideals, now be honest with me here, Lon.
Sure.
Do the kids actually come up with the ideals, or do the parents try to, you got, come on now, be honest?
There are a few. I mean, it depends on the child's disability. I mean, the kids who are very, very vocal and everything, you can tell this is what they want to be. But then, occasionally we have a costume request where, we think, who thought this or who picked this idea? And, it kind of becomes apparent who probably was encouraging the idea for the costume. But I would say a large majority of them are the kids. They have no idea what it's going to look like or how it's going to work. They just say, I want to be this for Halloween. And then we have to figure out how to make that happen.
That sounds very cool. And you're trying to build like a network of chapters of different designers and builders.
Mhm.
And as you mentioned, you've built over 100 costumes already. How far spread has your network got, and what's the expectations as you go forward?
Well, right now we have about 150 volunteers who have signed up on our website from different cities throughout the nation. And so when a child requests a costume, we always try and pair them up with volunteers in their city or their area, because it is much easier to build a costume when you can do test fittings and try things, talk to the child themselves, take measurements directly, the builder taking the measurements. But it never fails. We always have some kids who sign up or I don't have any volunteers around.
Oh.
And so in those cases, we either have to rely on the parents to get us photos and measurements of the chair, and then we build it and ship it to them. Or the other option is, find a builder that's willing to drive great distance to try and make the costume for the child. It unfortunately does happen where every single year we have a lot more requests come in than we have builders able to build.
Oh.
So there are always those kids that I have to make that tough call on, who doesn't get a costume this year. And I hate making that call.
Yeah. And then, as far as, getting the volunteers, what kind of I mean, I know volunteers, you kind of hope for just getting any type of volunteers, but there are always certain types of volunteers you're looking for. And then are you sometimes maybe looking for like groups or organizations that want to maybe do it as a
Yes.
project for their organization or business, whatever it may be?
Yeah, we actually have everything that you mentioned. We have those. We have cosplayers who do it, who have great crafting skills and know how to build costumes, but have maybe never built something on a wheelchair. And then we have people who they're great at electronics, and they don't really know how to build a costume, but if we have a costume that needs flashing lights and sirens and music and everything, they say, I will take care of that part of the costume. But then we partner up with schools, high schools, middle schools, even a few colleges that have built these as class projects, engineering problems that the students, really try. They really actually find great joy in doing it, because one, it's something fun where they get to build a costume, but then it's also a real world problem. It's not a teacher giving them, a scenario or, something that they have to try and solve. It's something where they actually meet the child. They get to know the child, and the students really want to make this work for the child. They go out of their way. They suddenly start working on Saturdays and Sundays to make sure that this costume is perfect for the child. And then we also work with businesses who do it as team building projects. We've worked with engineering companies who build little tiny pieces of a motor all day, and then they got to suddenly use their skills and build a running horse for a costume, so that the little girl looked like she was riding a horse. And they actually engineered it to where it galloped as she rolled and all kinds of things.
Wow.
So it's different things like that. So different teams might have different skills that will come up with different ideas for the costume and how to solve the problem.
It sounds like a great adventure for those, and it must be fulfilling for them as well to be involved in a project like that and see the kid once they get to use the costume.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of, or I should say, not a lot of dry eyes when the reveal is made, and some of the builders, don't realize how much of an impact this means to the kids and the parents. And suddenly, some of the high school kids start tearing up, and they don't know why. They're so confused as this shouldn't be causing this emotion, but it is an emotional experience for them as well.
Well, and it's it's great for character building for the kids as well, because they're learning how to be active in their community.
Right.
And you're dealing with sponsors. What kind of sponsors are you looking for? I mean, general businesses. I saw the one costume you guys made with the Kansas City Chiefs Stadium. I'd say, come on, Chiefs, pony up. We got a good ad for you here.
Yeah, that one was actually made by one of the companies, GBA. They actually their first project as a company was working on the actual Arrowhead Stadium. And so
Oh,
when
wow.
they found out that a child wanted an Arrowhead Stadium costume, they said, we want to do this because we have a history with that building. And so, that's why they wanted to make sure it was as accurate as possible to the scale that they could. And, it came out wonderful. And I was really impressed with that one. Had the working Jumbotron and everything.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah, and
wow.
from the looks of it, I believe that was pre-Super Bowl though, correct?
Yes, it was last year. We gave it to the child about this time last year. And
Okay.
so it was on the road to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and now that is a far more treasured costume for that
Yeah.
young man too, I bet.
Yes. And he was dressed as Patrick Mahomes. So, it worked out great.
One question I would like to ask,
Mhm.
I know we're getting towards the tail end of this, but, and I know every costume is different, so
Mhm.
it varies, but typically from start to finish, how much lead time does someone generally need to do a costume? I know it's all on
Right.
complexity too, but
Um, well, I tend to tell, if you're talking about businesses or volunteers who want to build a costume, I tell
right,
them
yep,
to take about 150 hours. So, divide that up. If you're only going to work Saturdays and Sundays, then, it's going to take that many weekends to do it. If you have a group of 5 people working on it, then you can kind of divide that up as well. And, it shortens
right.
down the time frame. But yeah, I typically say about 150 hours from start to finish, gathering supplies, photographing, measuring, designing, building, painting, installing.
Have you had anyone any requests from the Minnesota area?
Um, I'm not sure off the top of my head on if I do. I
Right.
mean, we do have a list of kids on our website that are still needing builders. And so if you go to walkinrollin.org/kids, you can see all the kids that are still needing costumes and
Oh,
what
okay.
city they're located in.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We'll have to look into that
Sure.
and see if there's any in our vicinity and try to get the
Yeah.
word out there on
Yeah,
that.
and
So
Mark and I'll get busy with the crazy glue and the toothpicks, and we'll just get
That's
that
right.
rolling.
right.
I know I've seen, like you talked about the galloping horses and
Mhm.
the studio and the stadium. What was the most complex costume that they've created? Would it be the stadium?
Um, Probably not, just because it didn't have a lot of moving parts.
I'm sure.
We've,
Yeah.
I would probably say either the horse had a lot of moving parts, or the first Ant-Man costume we did, where Ant-Man was riding on the back of an ant, and so as he rolled his wheelchair, every leg of the ant moved,
Wow.
and so it took steps, so it looked like the ant was walking every place he rolled. And so that one was the first one that we did that had moving parts, and it was it was, once we figured out how to do it, it was an easy solution, but it took a lot of trial and error to get to that point. So that one's probably the one that I'm most proud of. It's not this one that's behind me. This is our second Ant-Man costume.
Okay.
I think one of thinking about things here, I think one of our goals for Disability Channel Minnesota is hopefully next year we can do a follow-up story
Sure.
and do a story of a costume that was
Yeah.
produced here in Minnesota. So we got 2 things that me and Charlie have to do is first of all find a child
Mhm.
or hopefully a few child and try to get some volunteers
Absolutely.
together that can work with you to get direction and what to do. So a year from now, we can do a follow-up story with a couple kids in their costumes, and that
That'd be
sounds
wonderful.
like something we definitely should try to tackle. Right, Charlie? Right, super host
Super
guy
nerd.
or whatever you are, mask
Just call me super nerd. That's all we got.
Okay.
super nerd, yeah.
Now, and this year with the pandemic and the fragile state of a lot of kids with disabilities, Halloween is certainly in the balance, and that they're having a tough time. But you guys are hosting a virtual event over the next week
Correct.
to kind of get the kids involved in would you call it a virtual Halloween party?
Kind of. It's something new for us. The past few years, we've done a Halloween party where we did the reveals live on stage with a huge audience, and we would last year we did 12 costumes in one day that we revealed, and it's our main fundraiser for the whole year, and kind of kicks off our next year for building costumes. And so this year, because of the pandemic, we had to rethink it and come up with something new. And so we're doing this virtual party, and it's from October 16th through the 25th. It's every single night at 7:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. And every episode has a different theme to it. We reveal costumes. We talk to people that received costumes in the past. We've talked to builders. We have games, trivia, prizes, all kinds
Very
of things.
cool.
It's all family friendly. So it's a lot of fun. And so you definitely want to watch it live, because that's how you have a chance to win prizes. It's kind of a first person to answer correctly will win the prize. And so we have a lot of people. We've been doing this now for 5 years, and so we had a lot of people that wanted to come back and tell their story, or kind of share their experience with how the costume works. Because we give them the costume, and then a lot of times we get a couple photos back or something, and we really kind of want to know, how was Halloween? How was what happened afterwards? What were people's reactions? How was your child treated differently than they have been in the past when when they're seen as a child dressed up in a costume in a wheelchair versus a child in a wheelchair where the entire thing is dressed up and has the coolest costume on the block, and just kind of want to share those experiences.
That is great. I love just their experience, and they get to experience Halloween in just a completely different way now.
Absolutely.
That they're more interactive. They can be out with their siblings, and they become perhaps the center of attention, and I think that's great for them, because they yes. get to have a time that is truly special for them.
Yes, and they're finally looked at for good reasons than what they're often looked at.
Yeah, I remember Halloween in my youth, basically just going out looking like a Vikings player heading to the injured reserve list.
Yep.
So, Lon, it's been great to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Mark and I definitely want to get involved, and hopefully, a little too late this year to help a kid out, but we're definitely going to look at that list of kids you have, and we're going to be in touch. We want to make this work. So,
sounds great.
Lon, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Charlie Brose. My host is Mark Knutson, and this has been Disability Landscape. We'll see you later.